System families are defined within a Revit project, so the process of applying a material is pretty uniform. For compound elements, such as walls, floors, roofs, and ceilings, there is an edit assembly dialog where you can control all of the layers that make up that compound element type, and that's where you can apply the materials. For example, I'll select a wall and then click Edit Type to open the Type Properties dialog. Then, next to Structure, I'll click Edit to open the Edit Assembly dialog. And here's where you can control all of those layers. And one of the columns here is Material. And so each of these layers has a material, and that's where you can control the material. Click in the field and then click the More button to open the material browser. And here you can simply browse through the list and select the material, or you can search for a new material. And also, once you have selected a material, you can adjust any of the material properties here. For example, on the Graphics tab, which controls how the material appears in shaded views, let's say I wanted to make this a little bit darker, so I could click the color swatch here and adjust the color. Just going to make a slight adjustment here to make it a little darker, and then I'll click OK, and then I'll click OK to close each of the dialogues. Now we can see that our brick's a little bit darker. So that's how we can apply materials to system families. As far as loadable families, the process is going to be slightly different because loadable families are created by users, and depending on how that family was created, the material properties may be used slightly different. For example, I'll select a door, and when I select the door, I can look in the Properties palette to see any instance parameters. So the materials could be instance parameters, or they could be type parameters. For example, here I see a frame material and a finish. Those are two properties here under Materials and Finishes. But when I click in those fields, they're simply text-based. I can just enter whatever I wanted. For material parameters, I need to see that More button, which will open the material browser. So I can go to the Type Properties dialog by clicking Edit Type, and then see if there are any material parameters here, which there are. There's a door material and a frame material. And when I click in those fields, I see that More button, and that will open the material browser. So my point there is that you need to be able to open the material browser to actually control the material. That's different than just simply entering a text-based value, which could still be used in a schedule, but it's not going to control the actual material. I'm going to click Cancel to close these dialogues, and then I'm going to click Edit Family with that door still selected to open the door family in the Family Editor. And I'll orbit around a bit here, and we can start to look at the geometry that makes up this door family. For example, when I select the frame here, I can then look in the Properties palette at the material. Any geometry that you create is going to have a material parameter. And then in order to be able to control it in the project, you need to associate it to a family parameter. And if you're working on, if you're using a family that's already been created, you can open it up and then look for this material parameter and then click the button to the far right that says Associate Family Parameter, and that'll open the Associate Family Parameter dialog, and then you can see the actual family parameter that is controlling the material for that geometry. So in this case, we can see that the frame geometry that I had selected here is being controlled by the frame material parameter. So I can click OK, and then we can select the door panel geometry here, and then once again click the Associate Family Parameter button, and we can see that it is assigned to the door material parameter. And then I'll click OK. So if we go back to the project and select that door again, and click Edit Type, we can see those two parameters here in the Type Properties dialog, and that's how we can apply a material to them. And then that material will then control the material of that specific piece of geometry. So if you get a family from maybe a manufacturer or somebody created it in your office and you're really not sure, that's what you can do. You can open up that family in the Family Editor and take a look at that material parameter to know how it's going to work in the project.